Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. And today we're on the road to your questions. We get so many questions each day, and it's impossible to get all of them at the end of a Roads Not Taken episode or in an individual video. So what we're going to do today is start playing catch up and try to get to some that have been sitting on a list for a little bit. And I'm going to try to do this a little more frequently so that we can answer more questions. And hopefully it'll promote more discussion because there is just so much going on, not just worldwide, but in the country and in different states. And you may be able to connect with some people in your area, especially about more local issues. So there may be something more helpful, and I would just like to do it more often. I'm writing because I'm scared my state is going to lose its libraries and funding for AETN. Last week, I saw something about the bill going to the Arkansas Senate, and I saw just an hour ago that the bill has gone to the Arkansas House now. I wrote to my representative about it, but feeling awful defeated about, well, everything. Books were so important to me growing up, and so was AETN and PBS. I don't want our children to lose this because some parents are afraid of their kids learning things. AETN is Arkansas Educational Television Network. Yes, it passed the Senate and is headed to the House. I don't think this ends libraries outright, but this is not good news for people who care about education. But sadly, that's probably not how to get people to care in Arkansas. This will likely stop high school sports from being broadcast. You may be able to drum up some more support that way. It's sad, but it's true. This was part of a longer message, but this is the question. It came up about Trump naming himself chairman of the Kennedy Center. We are both wondering how he could do this. Is this something the president has always been able to have the power to do? I know that he removed people from the board and put on loyalists who voted for him. But how was he able to do that to begin with? Do you have any idea? We're both really curious. So the Kennedy Center is a public-private partnership. He can't appoint himself chair, but he can appoint people who will elect him chair. I've been kept up all night by the news that Musk Doge have now set their sights on Social Security. With the SSA chief leaving over refusing access to sensitive data, including payments, bank account numbers, as well as other personal and confidential information. As someone who relies on SSDI and SSI, I'm terrified that I may not be able to pay my rent and utilities next month, much less for anything else. Any insights on the situation or what to expect next would be most appreciated. I know I'm not the only one wondering what is going to go down and if I will have a place to live and food to eat next month or not. I am actually kind of hopeful that Social Security is going to be a bridge too far for them. Judging by the reaction to the proposed Medicaid cuts from Republicans, I think they may soften on this. We don't know for sure yet, but the backlash might be enough to scare them off from anything major there. This is a very long question. Well, it has a lot of explanation. I think what most Americans and Europeans don't realize or acknowledge is that the large U.S. contributions toward European defense is not charity. America gets to wield huge power through this arrangement. It gets to largely dictate European military policy at a high level. It also gets to have military bases in all kinds of strategic locations. it gets logistical, political, and diplomatic cover for its more dubious foreign interventions as well. Vance's speech has ended all that. It was a knife in the heart of NATO. I don't personally think there's any coming back from this level of betrayal. Once you say we might not respond to Article 5, you can't unsay it. Whether Europe, which has been historically very weak in defense for the last 50 years, pulls together, will determine the future of the continent. I'm not hugely hopeful. The Germans in particular are delusional, and it's difficult to see how a unified military command could work without much closer political unification. My suspicion is that this will be the United States Brexit moment, an act of unforced self-harm that will leave America somewhat diminished, but might finally shake enough of the population awake to turn the tide back towards sanity. I would be interested in the perspective of you and your team. Most Americans do not generally understand how important NATO is to the U.S. And a lot of those who do are typically only familiar with, as you called them, the more dubious foreign interventions, which means they kind of shrug at the idea of losing that power. I would like to think that the mere loss of this influence would wake the U.S. up, but we tend to be a country that has to be slapped in the face with just utter failure before we recognize it. I think it'll have to get bad before it'll get better. I'm hopeful that Europe can basically realign itself pretty quickly, though. I'm surprised that I have not seen you cover the story about the mayor of New York City. What do you think? We did cover it when it first happened. In fact, I think I put out 2 videos, but they didn't get a lot of traction and had low interest. So now we've just been kind of waiting for the next development and for it to get more interesting. And it's on its way to being more interesting. I have a couple of questions regarding the expected market correction, specifically the scale of the correction and its duration. I have Googled a few things, and the historical scales seem to range from, oh God, the world is ending, 40% plus drop, and it's just a semi-annual blip on the radar, a less than 10% drop. Have your sources or specialists indicated where they anticipate the coming correction to fall in this range, or how long they anticipate it lasting? My searches indicate most recover within 3 to 6 months, excluding bull markets. I make regular contributions to my retirement and a few other accounts, and I'm trying to decide to leave them be, reduce the amount, or stop and wait for the correction to pass. Okay, most are suggesting around 20%, but there are outliers that have estimates that put it in the, oh God, the world is ending range. The reality is that nobody is going to have a good prediction on how it will fall because there is so much emotion involved. What we know is that the market is overvalued, and we have a president that introduces a lot of uncertainty. That kind of rules out a gradual drawdown, but it'll probably be a sharp drop when it happens. But exactly when and by how much is really a lot of guesswork. I get it. There's nothing more newsworthy than following Trump and Musk, who are actively trying to destroy our country. Can you please do one show on occasion that doesn't go into them? It doesn't have to be good news. I just need 5 minutes 5 minutes of news that doesn't mention those two. We do those. The funny thing is because they're not high traffic. A lot of the time, people won't see them because they don't get recommended and pushed out into their feed. The other thing is that we do them. And just like we did the one on the floods the other day, and they just don't get pushed out as well. But there'll be no mention of them, and then Trump will insert himself into that story, and we'll do another video, and that'll be the one that gets pushed out. So we definitely do them, and I would recommend that you go to the videos tab on the homepage, and you can kind of scroll through every now and then. If it's going to have Trump in it or Elon Musk, it'll usually be in the title. But sometimes it's the algorithm doesn't push it, and they won't get it out to everybody. If you're like a habitual watcher and you watch every episode, because there's people that do, you've seen that we do it. It's hard, and we try very hard to touch on everything that we feel is really important and that people need to know. Can we stop pretending what Trump is doing is purely because of incompetence? I think he's taking orders from overseas. I have a really hard time believing that. Because not even our enemies want our nukes unsecured. A loose nuke is a loose nuke. It's not good for anybody. Okay, so we'll try to get to some more questions soon and give you a little more information, a little more context. And having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.